Hi everybody, it's Lori here today with a video where I talk about the 4 books that I read for the vlog titled Absolutely Brilliant Main Characters. So for this vlog, I selected 5 books. You'll see why in a couple of minutes, but I had 5 books. One is an arc that I was ecstatic, over the moon. I was so excited to receive from NetGalley because I had read the previous book in the, I believe it's a series now. I think it is. I didn't know if it was going to be. The first book seemed like it could be a standalone, but yeah. I was able to pick up the second book through NetGalley and I was so excited to be able to read that ahead of time. Definitely would have read it either way, but I was so excited. And then I have a few other books on hand. So let's first talk about the arc that I have is Rogue Justice by Stacey Abrams. The second book is Crooked Kingdom by Leigh Bardugo. As you remember, I read Six of Crows recently and wanted to continue what was a duology, but I believe it's supposed to be a trilogy, so we're waiting for the third book. Who knows when that'll come out, but in any case, I wanted to finish the 2 books that I had. We have The Soulmate Equation from Christina Lauren. We have Truly Devious by Maureen Johnson. And The Fire by Catherine Neville. So we're going to start here. And the reason I have 5 books, typically I have 3 or 4 books in a vlog. Sometimes I add an extra one if I have a couple of shorter books, or in this case, if I DNF. And unfortunately, I ended up DNFing The Fire, which was on my 2023 TBR list. I have had this in my collection and on my shelves for forever. I purchased this right after finishing The 8, which is also by this author, which I really did adore. This, I probably read it, gosh, 8 to 10 years ago now. I've had this book forever. You can see it's older. I did get it used, but it's been sitting on my shelves, as I call them, my musty, crusty, moldy oldies, and it's definitely been taking up space. And I thought, okay, well, I'll try it as a part of this vlog because it definitely fit the prompt. So The 8 was basically the predecessor to the Da Vinci Code and was very similar to that. But I think a lot of people get that mixed up. They probably think that the Da Vinci, that The 8 was written after, and in actuality, that was the reverse. And so if you like the Da Vinci Code, you may like that book. To me, it was very complicated. I liked it at the time. There are a lot of moving pieces. It took me a long time to get through moving pieces, which is kind of funny because it is about a missing chess set that once assembled is supposed to cause cataclysmic event for the world, and so a group of nuns are trying to keep it out of the hands of, you know, the people that want to do evil with it. This basically continues that same story. There was so much going on here. I ended up probably getting 50 pages in, and I determined I just do not have the wherewithal at the point in my life. I have a complicated job, a lot of things going on in my life. I just don't have the wherewithal at this point to enjoy this, and I'm going to go ahead and pass this along in maybe one of the little libraries in my area or at the library book sale. I think that if you are really enjoying books of this type, like I said, the Da Vinci Code type of book, start at The 8, see if you enjoy it, and I would read it back to back. I think that's another problem that I had, was that I let so many years pass in between. I should have just continued with eagerness at that point to read the book, and I think I would have enjoyed it a lot better. But at this point, I'm going to, like I say, wave the white flag and determine this isn't the right book for me right now. I think a lot of people will really love it. So I highly recommend, if you are looking for a complex puzzle that's fast moving, a lot of characters traveling around the world, I think this would be a good book for you. So the next book I picked up was Truly Devious here. And I believe, is this a YA? And it doesn't matter. It's a YA thriller type mystery. We have Stevie Bell here, who also fits the prompt, who is, it was funny because she is a true crime lover and she loves everything about solving true crime cases. She studies them, she pores over them. It's quite the rage right now. She's actually really good at it. I was thinking in the beginning, I was like, is she really that smart? And then there's a moment in the book and you're like, wow, okay, she was kind of like Sherlock Holmes in that moment. You're like, wow, she can look at somebody and just determine all of these things about them based on some clues that she's seeing. So I was very impressed with her from the very beginning. She goes to Ellingham Academy in a remote section of Vermont with a group of other highly intelligent teenagers that are there for education that is a little bit different than what they would have received at a typical high school where they would have been bored and doing typical classes. They do things that are highly specialized to the things that they are passionate about, that they are good at. For example, she wants to study the case that happened there at Ellingham Academy, where the previous owner had his wife and daughter kidnapped. One of the students was murdered, has not ever been solved. She wants to solve the case. There was a letter that was signed Truly Devious, hence the name of the book. And so she wants to solve the case and kind of make a name for herself in that manner. She feels like because she's there, she can look for clues. She can look through, hopefully, letters. She knows the buildings because she studied it so much online. This has been her fascination for years. And she feels like now that she's there, she can figure out who did this so many years ago, even when others have tried and failed. I will tell you, I was a little surprised. There were some moments in here that I didn't think was like, she's doing, I don't want to say dumb things, but things that I wouldn't anticipate from somebody as brilliant as she is. But the caveat, of course, to that is she's young. She's a teenager. She's not always thinking clearly. Hormones get in the way, and she's trying to make her place there, find friends, and still solve this case. She's getting pulled in, sucked in by all of the things going on. And so she's trying to balance all of these things. I doubt I would react any differently, so I can't really judge her. But there was a couple of times I was like, Sherlock Holmes wouldn't have done that that way. It was an interesting case. I will say I was a little disappointed with the ending, and I don't want to spoil it for anybody at all, so I won't. But I will be picking up the second book. It's a series. I think is there 5 books? I don't know. I'll have to look. I'll try to remember to put it on screen here, how many books there are in the series, because I definitely want to see how things go along. It took a drastically different turn than I thought it was going to take. So it was a little, and I felt like it all kind of went super fast at the end, which happens sometimes in novels. Seeing that more lately, it feels like all of a sudden something just major happens and you get whiplash. All of a sudden it's like, whoa, I didn't see that coming, and what are we doing now? So I want to see how this proceeds going forward. I'm going to give this a solid 3.5. I enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun. Like I said, I was a little disappointed with kind of the way it veered off, but I know a lot of people love this. And the fact that I am really eager to pick up the next book should show how much I enjoyed it. So we'll see. I'm hoping that it takes the direction that I'm thinking, and then I think that will bump up the series. And I'm wondering if it will change my rating for this, like looking back, understanding why all of that was necessary for the series to go on. Because sometimes you look back and you go, oh, okay, that makes sense. Now it's even more brilliant than I thought. I want to raise it up. So we'll see. I'm intrigued. I know so many people love it, and I can't wait to pick up the next book in the series. The next book that I read was a romance from Christina Lauren, The Soulmate Equation. We have single mother Jessica here, who is a statistician. She is an absolute genius when it comes to that, and she has pretty much decided to write off love. She is a single mother. She lives in a complex with her family members. I believe it's her grandparents who help take care of her daughter. She has written off love, even though her best friend Fizzy is a romance author. And they meet every day to work all day in this coffee shop. Jess works there with her client's business on her laptop, and Jess writes romance novels. every day at a certain time every morning, this handsome doctor comes in, gets the same drink. They call him Americano because that's what he gets every day. And at one point, Fizzy kind of introduces herself. She had heard that he works for a company that is testing this DNA technology for dating. So kind of like a dating app, but with DNA technology that matches you to your soulmate based on your DNA profiles. He wants to get rid of this conversation and get rid of the two, hands over his business card, says, yeah, come on in if you want to do a DNA test. They do. And all kinds of hijinks ensue because, of course, one of them becomes a match for one of the executives at the organization. And it is so cute. We have our grumpy sunshine. We have our, really not wanting to be in a romance girly, but kind of in one or trying to pretend to be in one. It is so cute. I love this. I flew through this book. I have heard... I think Mara was saying that there's a sequel coming out. Am I crazy? I need to look that up because I would be all over it. I really enjoyed this. I don't know if it's for everybody, but I thought it was cute. It was fun. I will say there's something that happens in this book that I had to read multiple times. And I know this is about truly brilliant main characters. I did not feel overly intelligent. Having to read this multiple times and try to figure out, okay, what are they saying? There were some questions about the validity of this technology and how that all resolves itself. I don't really feel like I understood. The way they explained it, I kept thinking, does that mean this or do they mean that? And so I kind of went back and forth. I think I know, but maybe with a sequel, I'll get my answer. I don't know that it really matters. And that's how the characters actually dealt with it, that it doesn't really matter. But I will say, I kept thinking, what? So I don't feel like that part was explained 100%. And because I was still left scratching my head a little bit on that and felt like, and perhaps it's just me, I don't know. There was a couple of other things that I was like, I'm not sure. I'm going to give this a 4-star, but I really did enjoy myself. I will definitely be picking up the second book if there's a sequel to this. I really hope so. This was very cute and fun, happy, upbeat. So highly recommend if this sounds like a good premise to you. I think it was a lot of fun. We have our final physical book anyway. We have Crooked Kingdom by Leigh Bardugo. This is the second book in the Six of Crows duology. I have the other one back here somewhere. It's probably up on the top. I don't know if you can see it. This was the follow-up to Six of Crows by Leigh Bardugo. I love this, but you guys know I love this series. It is so good. Sometimes with fantasy, I'm reading one now. I'm reading Jade City. And while I really do love that, it's hard reading for me because of a lot of the names of the characters, the place names. I feel like it really slows down my reading and I have to really really slow down the pace in order to pay much closer attention. Actually ended up getting the audiobook and I'm reading that both ways, physical copy and audiobook at the same time. I don't feel that way with this series at all. I feel like this is a quick moving, fast-paced fantasy series. So if you're looking for something like that where it's not difficult to jump in, get to know the characters, there's a lot of action, but I don't ever feel like I felt lost while reading this series. At least these two books, I just didn't. And that's something that's good, I think, for me being a relatively new fantasy reader. I haven't read a lot in the past. So sometimes some of those gigantic worlds and these, 1,000-page tomes with all of these characters and world building and magic systems, they don't really make a lot of sense. And it takes me a lot of time to kind of process and read through them. And because I read a lot for relaxation and to take my mind off of the stress, sometimes it adds a little bit to the stress, not in a bad way, but it just takes away some of that mental relaxation truly, because I'm having to concentrate so much on that. I would say this series is great if you're jumping into fantasy And you want something where you can dip your toe in, get to know some of the characters, see some world building. There's also a magic system. I just think it's incredible. I am super Kaz fan. I think everybody loves him, even though we're not really supposed to. He is kind of a villain of sorts, but his motivations and how he cares about his crew, you can tell, even though he doesn't outwardly show it as much as he probably should for reasons. I just think everybody just loves Kaz, and count me in that as well. He is my absolutely brilliant main character. He is always coming up with a new scheme to get back at someone, make some money, get out of the circumstances that they are in, get back somebody that they have lost. Everything that you can imagine. He is like 12 steps ahead of time. And every time, you find yourself in this pulse pounding action sequence, it's like, well, Kaz obviously has a way out of this. And there were a couple of moments I was like, if it was a movie, I'd be looking around going, okay, well, Kaz has to be coming out of, the corners or the shadows from somewhere, right? This can't actually be happening. There was a couple of moments that got pretty darn close and very uncomfortable to things that, and things did happen. I mean, there were moments that had me, I totally cried in this book. I will say, you laugh, you cry, you get so close to these characters, and I definitely did. I loved them so much. And I am looking forward to the third book. Who knows when that's even going to be. But yes, I absolutely love this so much. And I cannot wait for that third book. I'm giving this a 5-star. I mean, obviously, there was no doubt. 5-star, highly recommend. Pick this up if you haven't tried this series. Highly recommend. And the final book for the week was Rogue Justice by Stacey Abrams. Like I said, I got it as a arc from NetGalley, so thank you so much, NetGalley. We have our main character, Avery Keene, who absolutely is brilliant. She has a photographic memory of sorts where she can basically remember everything that she has seen, pictures of everything, I believe, as well, not just things that she reads. She is a clerk for a Supreme Court justice, and in the first book, there are some things that go on with him. I don't want to get into too much to spoil that whole first book. Highly recommend that you check it out. And so he is incapacitated and names her as his guardian in the meantime. And so there's all this intrigue as to why that all happens, but he entrusts her because she is so smart and it's the only person that he trusts. He's a curmudgeon and thinks everybody else is an idiot, even amongst all of the scholars that he comes across every day. But he finds her kind of up to the task and appoints her as his guardian. And so all kinds of things happen with that. And now we have, the timeline is pretty much right after that first book, even though I want to say, was it a year or two ago that she wrote the first one? I want to say. And so it kind of butts up to that first book, and we have Avery, who sees her fellow other law clerks who typically clerk for the justices for a year and then go on to like very lucrative 6-figure positions at very top law firms across the country. She's not getting any offers because there's still a little bit of scandal going on. And so she is kind of finding herself floundering. So the Supreme Court is keeping her on, giving her some menial tasks and having her do some research and other things to give her a stipend so that she can afford to continue to live while things are still kind of up in the air. Meanwhile, there's a huge scandal with the president, and federal judges start ending up being assassinated across the country. Of course, Avery is brought in when I believe it was one of the law clerks or one of the lawyers in the office for the federal judge approaches her, gives her some information, and then promptly is killed in front of her. And so this sets off this whole political thriller. You don't know who to trust. So we follow Avery and the few people that she can actually trust to shut down this huge conspiracy against the United States. Who's in on it? Who's not? What's going to happen? There's so much intrigue. And some of the things that were talked about in here, I was like, could that actually happen? do we have enough safeguards of our country on these things? Because it's something that I think I take for granted. I'm guessing a lot of us do. We don't think about it. We just trust our military and our government to take care of these things. They just didn't seem like something that would cause such a catastrophic event to happen. And so as you're reading it, I'm reading it with these like giant eyes, sitting there thinking, oh my gosh, could this actually happen to our country? I was on the edge of my seat. This is an easy 5-star. I gave the first book a 5-star. I love this as well. Stacey Abrams is so good at writing a political thriller. I did read a comment on her first book where somebody said, I think it was, like a blurb on the book that said, after reading this, it became crystal clear to me that Stacey Abrams is way smarter than I am. And I second, third, fourth, and fifth that comment. She is so amazing the way she puts a plot together and lays everything out. So she is definitely an auto-buy author for me. Can't wait to see if she continues this series. I would be interested to see if she does. Highly recommend. Definitely 5 stars. Probably on the favorite list for the year, and I highly recommend. So that'll do it. I had a very successful week. There was a book that was hanging on for a very long time. I should have probably waved the white flag a long time ago, but sometimes you just hold on to things because of the nostalgic purposes, I think, of how you felt, 10, for me anyway, how I felt 10 years ago reading the book. But I'm just in a different place now, I think, with my reading tastes. So I'm going to pass it on to somebody else and hope that they enjoy it. But yeah, I had a great week. I thought this was a fun theme. Let me know if you enjoyed this theme. If you did, give me a thumbs up for this video. I hope you decide to subscribe if you haven't already. And thank you so much if you're a returning visitor or subscriber. I'm so glad you're a part of this channel. I will be back next week with my theme of husbands and wives. So June is typically the month for weddings. So I thought I would pick books with the word husband or wives in the title. I had such a good week. I have read the books already. I'm so excited to share them with you. It was such a great week and can't wait. I found a new favorite author and she has a couple of backlist titles that I'm excited to incorporate into some upcoming TBRs. So thank you so much for watching and I will see you next time. Bye, everybody.